mai hara mai ki Inside Netball ko Ravinder Hunia aho, and joining me today, former Silver Ferns players and our experts, Courtney, Tairi and Anna Stanley. Kia ora, koroa.
Kia ora.
So much to talk about that has happened over the last few days, but we are going to start with the grand final. Of course, the Mystics reigning supreme as the champions for 2021 over the Tactix. What were our thoughts? We were all there. It was amazing.
You're wearing blue, you're wearing red.
I know.
You know,
I'm a loser.
Well,
But
like,
they did make history, the Mystics, and I think everyone, no matter who won, I think everyone would have been happy, especially with everything all these teams have been through. But the Mystics, so strong on the day. The Tactics did well to fight their way back into it, but they just came out so strong, the Mystics.
Yeah, look, I'm glad. Look, I'm a Tactics girl. I'm a Canterbury born, but I think it was just the Mystics' time. They'd played such great netball all year. What I was excited about was that it was a great grand final. It was free-flowing, it had intensity. You know, there was very little errors than what we have used to been seeing during the season. And, you know, a star has been born with Grace Noeke, was just outstanding at 19 years of age. That connection with Tuiava just got better and better. And, you know, the Tactics were chasing them down. Boy, if they hadn't have got that good start, 17-14 in that first quarter, because the Tactics won the third and then they drew the last quarter. So good that they came out of the blocks. But I think it was an outstanding performance, and I think a lot of people would have been probably pleased with that result.
most definitely, following in the footsteps of the Northern Marvels as well. That's two
and the Blues.
And the Blues. Look, it's Auckland's year, really.
Good year to be in
raining.
Auckland.
Yeah, and yes, totally planned. But you mentioned Grace Noeke, and so many times the camera was on her, she was smiling. She's 19 years old, and it didn't feel like the pressure got to her in any way. She looked like she was having a really good time. Let's break her down a little bit. Obviously, a player for the future as well for New Zealand.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that was probably her best game. She came out so strong. I think she was mentally prepared for it. She knew what she was up against. They had played the Tactics 2 weeks earlier. She knew Watson and Berger were just going to have a crack at everything. But she came out so strong. She was so dominating down there, I feel. So for her, and she went to the post, you're right, she was smiling at some times because we were right there. She got a little bit angry, but I like to see that. She's like, I'm not going to take this from, Jane Watson, Carden Berger. I'm going to stand here, hold my ground, and I'm going to get my team through this grand final.
And you think about it, the 2 goal attacks that took the court, Mez and Vui, between them, shot 3 goals. And Noeke shot every other goal for that Mystics team. So, she's shooting 95%, 90 what stats of that, more than that, 98% of the
And she gets the rebounds as well.
I know. So that's a lot of pressure on a 19-year-old. So I think that's going to set her in good stead, certainly for the future.
How much of this is reflective on the coaching staff? There were a lot of questions surrounding Helene Wilson at the beginning of the year. Rob Wright, once he was able to get over to Auckland, has obviously made impact as well. So what do we say about, how the coaching has come together to help this result?
I think they're a good dynamic in Helene and Rob, and I think we saw at the start of the year before Rob was there, Mystics was just sort of putting Grace under this pressure, letting balls fly, and then we know that when Rob came into the mix, he was like, why are we doing this? Why don't we get it to the circle edge? Why don't we add the extra pass in? And I think that helped with not only the feeders, but also with Grace, because they didn't feel they could just throw these balls to her and expect her to do it. And so I guess they created that relationship and that trust. And she knew if the ball's coming in, it's because it's 100% on. Whereas before, I think they were just hurling them into her and good luck.
Nice and hope. And I think it's more than just Rob as well. I think that the package of Sulu Fitzpatrick down the back, she's really been the inspirational leader, the driving force behind the Mystics' success. And, her leadership has just flourished. So I think it's been a combination of Rob Wright coming in and sorting out that attacking, as you say, what can we do to make it a little bit easier on our players. But I think you've had Sulu Fitzpatrick all season barking orders, and when I was sitting on close to the game, and she is on that transverse line yelling, discipline, hold on to the ball. She is constantly involved in play when she's not physically involved. So I think she's played a big part of the Mystics' success.
And she also brings that caring mother energy as well. She's barking these orders, but at the same time, as a player, she's got your back. She will look after you. And
she's got the mana.
Yeah, she's got the mana as well. And when she lifts, the team will lift. And if she tells you to do something, she knows her troops will do it.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the Tactics and their performance. They had, there were highs and there were lows, but 2 points in it at the end. They were, pretty much in it to the end. And of course, you mentioned that they had put up more goals.
Yeah.
So what do you put their performance down to?
Well, I think defensively, without doubt, they were one of the strongest teams. You look at Berger and Watson, their defensive record, incredible. And I mean, Noeke's pretty hard to stop, but boy, they gave it a good damn try. I just think their attacking end all season hasn't just got to its peak. It was always sort of 1 step forward, 2 steps back with the Tactics. They kind of just couldn't gain any ascendancy on attack. They never really quite got their flow. And we often talk about Tapasa Rickett being the barometer on attack for the Tactics, that often she does a lot of work on the outside. In fact, she got the most centre pass receives, I think, in that game, which she does a lot. But sometimes she does just need to get in the circle to give that space for the middies to actually run onto. So I just still think they haven't quite nailed that whole momentum attacking end for the Tactics, and that's what I think let them down in the final.
And I think sometimes when she did drop back into the circle, the middies didn't realise, and so they're thinking, where's Teeps gone? Yeah. So it's like they need to find that balance, and probably also that communication, like, right, I'm dropping off, you guys do the work, hit the circle edge. And so you're right, they just haven't found that balance in their attacking, and a lot of times they'll look, then they go back to the line, and it's just a lot of passes around that transverse line without penetrating forward, hitting that circle edge, and just putting the ball in.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I loved what Sulu said in her post-match speech, talking about, they're the champions, obviously, but both teams made history. The Tactics didn't quite get over the line, but for Auckland Netball, it's making history. The scene was set at Spark Arena, which was awesome. I was waiting outside with my family in the cold, but it was awesome to see so many people there excited about netball. So what do you think that this grand final did as a showpiece for New Zealand netball?
Well, hopefully a lot more kids will pick up a netball and want to play netball. I mean, 2 very proud netball regions. Christchurch Netball, Canterbury Netball have tuned out so many Silver Ferns. You've got Julie Seymour sitting on the bench as assistant coach, guiding this next generation of athletes. And you just hope that a grand final like that with a massive crowd at Spark Arena, lots of people were watching, that you hope little kids, straight off the back of the Olympics watching the netball will pick up a netball and go, hey. And now, of course, netball might be in the Olympics in 2032. So that's something to look forward to as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that with the Olympics, and you could see, like, even the effect that I guess the women's sevens had on young boys, and like seeing that women are out there, and then I think the spectacle that was the ANZ Premiership Grand Final, getting to see these strong female athletes out there on a big stage performing so well, and for little kids to go, that's what I want to be.
Okay, Taurua, the announcement that we have all been waiting for, the Silver Ferns have been announced hot off the press. And joining us in this corridor is none other than Silver Ferns coach Dame Noeline Taurua. Noeline, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now, I'll kick us off with the question today, Noels. You've been observing this ANZ Premiership competition all season long. So what were the attributes you were looking for in a Silver Ferns squad this time around?
Look, we were really clear, I hope, from the beginning to the end as to the qualities on court, off court, in regards to athlete behaviours, skill sets, leadership, and also physical capability were the clear areas that we wanted to see. We obviously worked with the Silver Ferns and development squad, the athletes, but this year we worked closer more with the clubs and visited them throughout the season twice, just so that everybody was clear about the selections, but also how we could work better together in regards to raising the overall standard of the ANZ, which would also link into the international scene. So, as I say, hopefully we were clear on the communication.
Noel's a big one for me. Obviously, there's a lot of mid-quarters in there, but we did see some miss out, and one that stands out to me is Kimi Ora-Poi. So it must be, I guess, a double-edged sword, because you've got the depth in the mid-court, but that also means you have to leave players out of the squad.
Yeah, look, it was always going to be the case, obviously, with the numbers. And, I'm not a person that's just going to go 666 or, keep to the status quo of normal. And really it was about people that were able to consistently perform. even though the likes of Kimmy, Whitney and also Monica, to some respect, have been shifted to the development squad, how I see it is that they're in there. You know, they've still got a foot in the door, and when we come to the trials, they will be there, hopefully putting their hand up. But it was fierce in that mid-court, definitely. And really what also happened, I think, putting this out there, when you look at the defence, we're really short in 4 players there. And with Jane being out through her operation, basically we probably only have 3. So what that also meant is that we will look to strengthen our defence end by having more players that can play that wing defence slide. Hence you will see the Claire coming in, Sammy, Kate, and also Maddie as well. So, those players can play a few positions, but with shorter numbers on our defence end, it means it gives me more opportunities to look at more wing defences. So I think that was probably a telling point for Kimmy and Whitney. And also to add as well, I feel with both of those players, the specialist, and when you are a specialist person and you play only one position, you've got to own it. And there's still work I feel that they need to do in regards to being consistent overall, not only from week to week, but from quarter to quarter.
Noels, you've picked a squad of 17 and you talk about those physical capabilities. The 17 that are in there, have they all made the fitness targets that you've set, or do they have to then make that to make the 12?
Yeah, look, we put a target on there in regards to the entry into selections, and praise be, we're all in that. So, we've come a long way in that respect. Last year, we have learnt, and hopefully once again, which is why we wanted to get the communication right with the clubs. Last year we had 5 players that didn't meet the fitness standards, and what that meant was that we didn't have enough in camps, and it put a lot of pressure on everybody else. And because really, like normal in society, these resources that you have to spend. So we put the fitness standards up the front, and for that to happen, you had to meet the criteria on the yo-yo. So I'm really happy when I look at the lights of, I think of Grace, a Peter, that they will probably put their hand up first to say, that's not their area, but they got themselves through. And they're there, and I think that's phenomenal. So at the moment, we're all at the starting blocks, and I couldn't be more happier.
Now, I was looking at your shooting end of the whole squad. You've got 3 debutantes named in that area there with Grace, Tiana and Jamie, and you've also included Amelia and Ekenasio in that lineup as well. Talk to us about your shooting decisions and having that mix of experience and young blood.
Yeah, look, what I wanted out of there, one of the things that we want to work towards is dominance. And I know, that's sort of it's a big piece of the pie for us, and that's part of our values that we want to build towards. So for me, in the shooting area, clearly what I wanted was players that were going to go to the post. Not muck around. And yes, maybe their percentages are a wee bit low, but they're not quivering, and they go to the post when the opportunity arises. I feel with the likes of Grace, well, she's phenomenal anyway. She's a beast. More than likely 40, 50 goals up every game. I can't wait to see what she's like against a Courtney Bruce and Jiva Mentor. But she's shifted in a lot of respects, so she's earned the right to get there. I think Jamie Hume, once again, when I think of the shifts that both her and Tiana have made over the season, I think especially with Jamie, she was able to put up those shots, especially towards the end. Yes, there's still areas of accuracy that we need to work on, but for both of those players, I feel that they've put their own mark on the goal attack position. So when I look at those 3 debutantes, they add a different mix to our current players. Amelia Ann is on mummy mode at the moment, but definitely we will be using her in camp situation. Her leadership will also come into play as we start to mould and build depth in that shooting end. Hence her being still named. but also recognising her value to the Silver Fern as we move into the Commonwealth Games next year. And her intent is she will be back, and that's our expectation. So she's a sublime goal attack, world class, and she will be wearing that bib again.
Knowles, if we move down to the defensive end, you said you're a little bit light down there, especially with Jane having her surgery. But at the end of the email, I guess sort of in the footnotes or special mentions, we didn't miss that. You've got nice Phoenix, Karaka, Michaela Sokolic-Beatson. One that stood out to me, Kayla Johnson, she putting her hand up to say she's available?
She is. Yes, she is. Look, that little footnote on the bottom is exciting for me. When I compare ourselves to, once again, supply and demand and looking at that defence end, I know currently we are short in numbers, but it's exciting to have those types of players who are coming back into the mix somewhere. Obviously, with the likes of Michaela, we know where she is in her injury, but her intent, once again, is to be back next year in ANZ. So we've picked up her program to transition that back. Kayla Johnson, nee Cullen, definitely is coming back into the mix. Unfortunately, with MIQ at this stage and the uncertainty around that, we're sort of playing that by ear. But she's done a bit of work over the last 2 or 3 months, and we've been tracking that. So hopefully when she comes back into the country, we can pick her up. And then our mummies, Katrina and also Phoenix. So both have different stories in regards to their pregnancy, but I know Phoenix is not too far away. So I think when I look at the group overall, I feel as we lead into the Commonwealth Games next year, I'm really excited by having that depth, that balance, and I feel we're starting to plug some of these holes in all areas.
A player that caught my eye, Knowles, in the development squad, Phil Vui. Obviously, she's had that connection this year with Grace Noeke. I mean, how did she receive the phone call when you gave her the news? She must have been pretty stoked.
Oh, look, I think she's done an amazing job. I think, when you look at the squad, look, I can definitely put my hand up, and this has been part of the discussion. There's quite a few in that development squad who have come off the bench and not necessarily had a starting 7, and Filda definitely comes into that mix. We've got the Ocean and the Georges as well. So, we are putting our hand up in regards to probably for some people that's questionable. But what I have definitely liked about Filda is, once again, she goes to the post. And apart from maybe that grand finals, it's the second time that she's ever started, and holy heck, she starts on a semi-finals and a grand final. It's a better start for her. But apart from that, I think she has got something. I know she's fit. So that's a great tick. We don't have to worry about that. And she will go to the post, and she's putting up big numbers. So, with those ones that have come off the bench and we have included in the development squad, we see something in them. And Fielder is definitely that person that we can start to work that next level underneath. And even if they don't fall in the next cycle, we know that we've got the following cycle that we can start to push some of these players through.
But dates are in place for series against England and Australia. Should the worst happen and one or both can't happen, is there a plan B? And how critical is it to get all these players quality court time before the Commonwealth Games?
Yeah, look, that's part of the objective is around our building our depth, and not only depth is making sure that we can provide opportunities. As you've mentioned, there's still a bit of uncertainty. Hopefully, more than likely, England will happen, but who knows, sometimes in this current climate. And obviously, we've also got Constellation Cup on the trot. So, we've got plan A, B, C, D that's happening at the moment. If possible, if England do come over, then hopefully opportunities will present not only with the Silver Fern squad. looking at those, or the NZAs, and how we can move that into possible games with England in the lead up to our series. And another level that we're working at the moment, hopefully we'll be able to enter into that space, is the NZ under-21s. So yes, there are players that they didn't play for the World Cup last year, or the Youth World Cup, but once again, as we move into building that depth, there's an opportunity of us working all three squads at the same time. So fingers crossed, if we don't get internationals, definitely we will have something. We're probably lucky that we had the Cadbury series over the last 2 years, so that definitely is an option. And hopefully as well, you know, we can wrangle MIQ and even the opportunity I know you guys will know the old World Series that we had with some of these players that have also come in the mix. So these are the discussions that we're having at the moment, and definitely you'll see players out there this year.
Knowles, when do you decide the captain, and do you decide, or is it a team decision? How is that happening?
Yeah, look, this year is going to be, putting this out there, is going to be different from what we've done in the past as well, with Mills not available, and obviously Jane is going to come back to the second half of the season. So, you know, if England and Constellation Cup go ahead, then we do need a captain and vice captain. So over the next probably week, once we get the selections out the way and settle ourselves, we'll move into that. We're going to do a wee bit different this year, where I don't feel I need to go to a survey or do a bit of a hoopla around that. We can just get straight to this, to the appointments. But also know this year, knowing where players are at, we have done quite a bit in the leadership space, and we've been working with all the ANZ captains as well.
You know, you get gold at the World Cup. That was your first kind of thing to tick off the list. And now you have the series against England, you've got Constellation Cup, and then you've got your Commonwealth Games. How big is Commonwealth Games for you to do really well in, as you know, as it was with the World Cup?
Oh, look, and I'm not scared about saying this, I'm going for gold.
Good girl.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, this is what it's all about, I feel. And, you know, like coming straight off the World Cup, we had changed our focus, I suppose, and building the depth, working year by year, toiling away, winning Constellation Cup, licking our wounds. You know, every year has been around a certain objective as we build towards being better. And next year is the grand finale in regards to what it's all about. So I would be really disappointed, and I take it on the chin if our planning or our strategic direction hasn't been good. But I feel really confident in what we're doing at the moment. And even when I look at the likes of our mummy group, and our injured group, the footnote on the bottom, we've got some great firepower, you know, so I back ourselves, and I'm confident, and I know, you know, it's everything on the day, but for me, this is what it's all about, and I'm going for gold. So I'm confident, and I'm fine to say that.
Well, thank you so much, Noeline. Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on your squad selections, and all the very best moving forward. Pretty great feedback from her, but let's open the floor, ladies. Let's have some, you know, some conversations about this, because there was that mention of Kayla Johnson, Kayla Cullen, that we did ask Noeline about, making the squad. Those footnote players, you know, how imperative is it to have them on there? Do we need them, perhaps?
I think we do. I think it excites me, because when we do look at the squad that's selected for the upcoming series, and Noel said, like, there's really only 3D there. Then you look at the footnotes, and then you've got...
Critical, always read down the bottom.
Yeah, you've got footnotes, and then you've got so many experienced players, and then you even add Katrina in there, there's over 100 caps. And then I just think also it adds that competition within the squad. You know you've got these people coming back, so you're going to make your fitness standards. You're going to do what you can, especially if you get your opportunity now, because they can't be available for the test at the moment. So you've got to go out there, hopefully wear that black dress and do what you can to sort of put your hand up, knowing that you've got these players just around the corner.
I mean, there's lots of competition when you look at that. You know, the girls that have even made the Silver Fern development squad, you know, you've got Phil DeVuy in there, which I think is really exciting. She's really come on in the Mystics this year. I'm just excited that Peter Tuiava got in and Grace Noeke, because
Yeah.
I was like, please make the fitness standards,
Right.
please. Yeah. And obviously listening to Noel's, you know, that's something that they all had to make prior to even getting in the squad. And as she said, she's really proud of those girls, because a lot of them have got to work pretty hard on their fitness. So I think that's hugely exciting. Perhaps some casualties. Ali Timu from the Stars, not one to feature at all, but perhaps fitness is something that she needs to work on. And I'm excited that you know, Phoenix Karaka's there, Kayla Johnson. I think definitely our defensive end, we need a bit of pushing, and those girls will certainly provide it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who in those footnotes does come back. One person I thought was interesting was Bailey Mez being left in the footnotes. You know, we see Amelia Ikanasios on maternity leave, but she's still in the squad. We see Jane Watson's just had her ankle surgery, but she's still named in the squad. And I've always thought in the past that Noeline's been quite the advocate of Bailey Mez in that goal attack, possible wing attack option. But this time, you know, the competition, as you say, maybe too fierce.
And maybe it's just she's not putting her in there because she wants to mentally have a break as well. So you don't leave her in there, you give her the chance over this next 6-7 months to actually get her injury right. She's not feeling pressured if she is named in the squad to be, you know, doing certain things. I think sometimes our athletes just need a mental break away from the game, and perhaps that's what Bailey needs, as well as to physically recuperate from her knees or ankles or whatever it is.
And then it's probably also an opportunity for her to go back and look at this season, because when we do look at the grand final, and obviously throughout the season, the grand final, you know, she only put up 1 from 1, and I know you've got Grace there who's shooting, you know, 59 goals or whatever it may be. There's probably a good chance for Bailey to go, and you heard Noel, she wants the players that'll turn and go to the post, so maybe she can have a mental reset, look back and go, okay, this is what I need to do if I want to be at Com Games.
Thinking back to, you know, the combinations we've seen in the past, it's been very mobile. We haven't really seen a tall timber in the Silver Ferns for a long time. Another name that we don't have on the list is Ali Bird, who also featured in the grand final. So Noeline, obviously, I mean, it's a no-brainer to think of Grace Noeke. Grace Noeke's name was in, you know, conversations last time around, perhaps wasn't quite ready. But having the tall timber, you know, changing that kind of makeup again.
Interesting, you look at that Bird and Poi, probably 2 casualties from the Tactix that haven't made the squad, but you look at the grand final, the Tactix actually had more attempts at goal than the Mystics.
Yeah, crazy.
You know, so they had it a lot down there on attack, and I think throughout the year the Tactix were guilty, and we said it a lot in commentary, of passing sideways, passing back, not looking in. So whether that was on, you know, Poi and Bird's, you know, unavailability perhaps at times, and as a result, they've missed out.
We're just hoping now that COVID doesn't interrupt those series, and I'm sure that the way things are going now that we should be all good to move ahead. But of course you can catch all the action here on Sky Sport. Thank you so much for joining us. Hei kona mai.